Alright, what's up you pile of nerds? BP Hero back at you here, and you know why you clicked on the video, you know what we're here for. It's the best 240 stamped USSSA bat of 2021. Now, there's a few things we're going to do different here that we haven't done on the list like we have in years past, and there's no more 1 through 5. It's going to be a category list going from top to bottom. We'll go over those in a minute. And the other thing I do want to mention is if we reviewed it, then it's going to be in this list here. If we didn't, then it's not. So people were asking the question from the ASA video of, you know, why didn't this bat make the list? Why isn't that bat on the list? Did you review this? If it's on this list, we reviewed it. We're just going to keep it kind of cut and dry that way. And probably going to try and roll out something like this list for 2022 as well. And kind of keep it updated. And then obviously we'll go over it at the end of the year like normal. But I thought it would be kind of cool to categorize these bats and kind of let everybody get a look at the list and kind of figure things out from there for themselves based on what we think of these bats. Now, let's get into this list here and kind of see what we're working with. We're going to have no question the best, which is going to be, if you ask me, hey, BP Hero, what's the best 240 stamped bat out there? It's going to be the bats that are in this column. So up next, we're going to have the gotta have it in the bag category, and that's going to be stuff that's super good, super game worthy. It just, with this list here, there's going to be a few bats in the no question the best category, and then if you couldn't swing that, then this would be the stuff I would recommend next, and it would be the stuff that was in my bag if what is in the top column was not available. Up next, we have pretty good, but not quite top tier, and that's going to be the bats that I still thought were good, but were maybe lacking a little something to get it to the category of gotta have it in the bag. Up next, we have the didn't love it, didn't hate it category, and that's going to be the bats that were good, but just didn't blow me away. It wasn't something that I could, recommend everyone and say, this bat's really good. It's going to be one of those deals where it's going to fit a certain niche of people, so it's not going to be for everyone, and that is what this category will be for. And then we have save your money, and yes, there's going to be some bats in this category. Believe it or not, there will be, and sometimes it just bees that way. I don't really know what to say. So with that said, let's get into the list here. All right, so getting things started through the list here, just as the website generated it, I uploaded all these thumbnails from the videos. So if you're looking for something and maybe just want to scroll through the channel, I use the thumbnail, so it'd be maybe a little easier to find as you're scrolling through the channel looking for the video. So up first, we're going to have the Anarchy 240-13 two-piece. And this bat performed pretty decent, felt pretty good, but a couple of things just kind of drove us batty with it. It did swing super light, and I felt like the performance could have been better. It was still good, but I felt like it could have been a little bit better, so that's why I didn't put it in the gotta have it in the bag category. We're going to put it in the pretty good, but not quite top tier category. So up next, we're going to have the Anarchy 240-13 one-piece, and that's kind of the same deal as the 240-13 two-piece in regards to the weighting. The weighting was still just a little bit light, but seriously though, this was one of the best sounding 240 stamp bats that we swung all year long. It sounded like a bamboo stick every time you hit it, but it did lack a tad in performance. Still sounded really good. Everything was good about it. It's just going to be one of those, if you can jive with this thing, then this would be a good bat for you, but I did feel like it lacked a little bit of performance to make it into the bag, so it'll be in the pretty good but not top tier category. Up next, we have the Louisville Slugger Genesis Balanced. If you follow the channel at all, if you've asked me, I'm pretty transparent about it. The Louisville Slugger Genesis line for the 240 stamp bats is no question the best performing 240 stamp bats out there. So just spoiling that for you now. If you see Louisville on the list, this is where it's going to end up. And there's really not much else to say. It seriously feels, performs, and hits just as good as the Louisville 220s, as good as the older 220s. I don't know what they did. I don't care how they did it. These things are great, bottom line. Up next on the list, we're going to have the Easton Resmondo Balanced. Now, some people were saying that the earlier bats weren't as good as the later bats, and I did swing a couple of Eastons early in the year that I wasn't real wild about, but this one checked all the boxes for me. Had performance out of the wrapper, super good feeling sweet spot for a 240. The weighting was spot on. If you know me at all, I'm an in-load guy, but something about a balanced bat just puts me in a place, and this bat definitely was doing it for me, so we're going to put it in the gotta have it in the bag category. So up next, we're going to have the Demerity Davis Bellardello Nautily, and this one felt pretty good for me. It did pretty good for me. I really like this thing. It was an in-load, and it hit with the performance of an in-load, but it was so smooth to the fact that it almost felt like you were swinging a bounce bat in terms of how you could control it. but it still had the end-load mass behind it. It just, something about it just really worked for me. I felt really good with it. We're definitely putting that one in the gotta have it in the bag category. All right, so up next we got the Easton Fireflex 240 loaded. And this one, weight-wise, felt exactly like a Blue Line. If you're a Blue Line guy and you like Easton's, give this one a try. But outside of that, I really couldn't recommend it too much. The feedback was just kind of blah, and the performance was decent, but there was a lot of other good bats on this list that I felt performed better than this thing did. So we're going to put it in the didn't love it, didn't hate it category. Up next is the Miken Freak 23. If you know us at all, you know that we like short barrels and end loads, and we've been a big fan of the Miken short barrel end loads over the years, and the Freak 23 kept that tradition going. Quick break in, good performance, super smooth swing weight, just like all the other Freak 30s and Freak 23s of years past. Putting this one in the gotta have it in the bag category for sure. All right, so up next is going to be the Miken Freak 9R. And again, with the short barrel Miken stuff, you know us at all. You know us, we like the short barrel end loads. Definitely putting this one in the gotta have it in the bag category. It's just a Freak 23 with more junk in the trunk. You can't lose. And up next here, we got a couple of Louisville, so we know where those are going. We got the Sanchez Genesis, and then we also have the Lady Jenny. And as I've mentioned before, this is going to be one of those deals where you just pick whatever specs you like and go as far as the weighting goes. You're going to have the power load, you're going to have the end load, and then you're going to have the balanced. All the same barrel, all perform great, they all feel the same. It's just a matter of what you prefer loading-wise, but any of these three you cannot lose with. Okay, coming up next, we'll have the Juno Final Chapter. And this one was one that I really enjoyed. We swung it early in the year. Everything felt good off of this bat. Super smooth, super forgiving. The end load was just so good. But I do feel like the other things in the gotta have it in the bag category did perform better. If this thing could squeak out just a little bit more performance, then I would have no hesitations at all in putting it in the gotta have it in the bag category. But with that being said, we are going to put it in the pretty good, but not quite top tier. And now for the Worth creature. If you know Worth at all, you know that their big barrel end load game is always off the charts year in, year out. Just like their short barrel end load game. This big barrel end load is a bat that anybody could use. You could use it if you were a power hitter. You could use it if you were a control guy. You could use it if you could never care to hit a ball out of the park ever. This half-ounce big barrel end load stuff they have got figured out to a T. So this for sure has got to be something in the bag. And it's almost like a Swiss Army knife for some guys. It's like a bat for a jack of all trades. Then comes the Juno Mr1. There, I did it. Save your money. There was a lot of hype in this thing early in the year, but it just did not do it for me. The end load felt good on it. That's about all I can say. The barrel was super tight, and it just, no matter how much you beat on it, it just didn't seem to get any better. So I can't recommend this bat to a whole lot of people. Up next is going to be the Demerity Nautily end load. A lot of people refer to this as the confetti bat, and it again is going to be in the save your money category. I don't know what's different about these from like something like the Young Guns, which you'll see here in a minute, or any of the others that have been on the list, other than the shorter barrel maybe just not feeling all that great. Maybe if you beat the absolute brains out of one of these, it would get pretty good, but just something about it just did not do it for us at all. Wouldn't recommend this to a whole lot of people. So up next is going to be the Demerity Nautily mid-load. And it's kind of funny, we filmed the Nautily end load, the confetti bat, and this mid-load on the same day. And you know how I am about mid-loads. I don't really go wild about them, but this thing felt more like a balanced bat than it did anything, and it felt incredible compared to this confetti bat. And the mid-load does have a little bit more barrel on it. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But this thing felt really good. I mean, it's for sure something that you got to have in the bag if you're a balanced bat guy. No doubt about it. All right, so up next we have the Pure Indium 1. And if you know me at all, you know I like my one pieces. I like my Pures. And this thing being marketed as game ready, I was kind of skeptical. You know, some companies do that, and it's just no different than any other bat. But this thing was way better than the Integrity 2 that we swung earlier in the year. I really enjoyed this thing. The feel, the feedback, the performance, everything was there, and just about from swing 1 as well. Definitely got to have this one in. So now we have the Pure Indium 2, and it's going to be another one of Pure's game ready type bats, and it it lived up to the hype. It was game ready for sure. Same thing as the NDM1. It's just going to offer you a little bit of different feedback and feel and that kind of thing with the 2-piece handle. But this is definitely something that you could consider having in the bag. Oh, get in there. Okay. Up next is the Miken Freak Primo Max Load. And for year in, year out, I've been telling people the worth of the Miken stuff is practically the same. It's practically the same. It's practically the same. I don't know what is so different about the Creature to the Primo Max Load. On paper, the barrels should be the same, minus the 1/2 inch, which I've always said for years. I feel like the barrel is the same. It just has a different handle. And if that's the fact here, then maybe that's what it was. But something about the feedback of the Primo just didn't really drive us wild. Obviously, it hit the ball well, but it was one of those where it was good, but I would so much rather have a lot of other things in the bag just based on the feedback that it gave us. So we're going to slam this one into the pretty good, but not quite top tier category. All right, so up next is going to be the Proton Series 1 Balanced. And again, I'm a one-piece guy. I don't mind balanced bats once in a while. This thing is going to need some break-in, but once it breaks in, it does get to feeling pretty good. We're going to put this in the pretty good, but not quite, words are hard, but not quite top-tier category, just based on the fact that I would want to see a little bit more performance out of it, especially for the compression it was at. We had other bats that were hitting better for the same compression that this was at in the video that when we filmed it, but it was definitely still something that I could recommend to you if you were looking for a one-piece balanced bat. I would tell you to check out a Series 1 Balanced. So up next is the Pure Integrity 2, and this is one, being a Pure fan, being a one-piece fan, I did enjoy it, but after swinging some more stuff, it became pretty evident to me that this was going to be one of those love it or hate it bats. So that's where we're going to put it. If somebody asks me what Pure to swing, even if they want a one-piece or two-piece, you got to go NDM1 or NDM2. The Integrity 2 is good, but it's going to be for a small niche of people. Demerity Vanilla Gorilla. I'm just going to do it now. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. This thing was horrendous until we got it broke in. It was tough to live through. And once it got broke in, it was pretty good. The sweet spot was still pretty small, but if you could get the sweet spot going on this thing, it would absolutely dump on a ball with that big end load. So it would be something for a small niche of people. If you're looking to hit a ball hard and you can consistently live on a sweet spot, this is something for you. Otherwise, I would probably leave it alone and opt for something like the Billardello Nautily or even the Young Guns that you're going to see on the list here in a minute. The Anderson Wraith. This was an interesting one. It was so good, but it was so bad. Literally everything about this bat was awesome. Probably one of the most forgiving bats we hit all year. Like, categorize it with the Louisvilles. That's how forgiving this thing was. The weighting was super smooth. Everything about it was good, but no matter what you did, you could not get this bat to perform. If you are a true base hitter and do not care about exit speed, then you got to get one of these. And that's the only reason I put it in the didn't love it, didn't hate it category, because it literally checked every single box besides being a mind-blowing performer. And last but not least is the Demerity Young Guns. And dude, this thing was sick. The 13-inch barrel, the big end load, man, once you got it loosened up and got it going, this thing would just absolutely destroy a softball. It's definitely going to be for the distance guys, not necessarily for the faint of heart, but if you're looking into hitting a ball hard or you like a lot of end loading, can control it, you definitely have to have one of these in the bag, no question about it. All right, guys, so that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to doing this format for the 2022 reviews. I may mix up the categories just a little bit. I haven't 100% decided yet, but I'm going to go something with a tier list for 2022 just so it can be updated and people can just kind of reference it and see. Not that I don't mind people reaching out to me, but it would just be kind of cut and dry, like, hey, instead of me telling you, I'm just going to send you this whole list and tell you kind of what to pick from, and you can go from there. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I'm looking forward to 2022, and I hope you guys are as well. Swing hard in case you hit it. BP Hero, catch you next time.